Hey you guys, welcome back to another video. Today I just want to talk briefly about the Love is Blind reunion. To me that was super underwhelming and kind of boring, but there were a few things that I thought were interesting that kind of surprised me, mainly that Uche didn't show up. But I think Uche's ego is so big that he wasn't ready to face all of the things the cast said about him. That was the first thing that surprised me. Even the guys on the show were like, yeah, he rubbed me the wrong way. And that's one thing that we don't talk about, is that men have really good radar for other unhealthy men. They have really good radar for creepers. They have really good radar for men, men who are not on the up and up. And one thing that I love was that Milton was like, this man I was so baffled why he was so interested in my relationship. Yes, Milton, as much as I don't care for him and Lydia's relationship, I loved that Milton was like, there is something weird here that you're so invested in my relationship. Yes, right on, spot on, because Uche was going around, rubbing his little fly hands together and then going around and rummaging in everybody else's business and trying to figure out what he could about Lydia, trying to figure out what he could about Milton. It was odd. And I'm so glad that Milton picked up on that. And again, everyone was saying this, but we were so surprised by his maturity. I said this on my TikTok. Uche seems like he was the kid who was never told no and has not been rejected much. And so when people start to tell him the truth and, maybe he gets exposed, he can't show up. He can't handle that. He can't handle rejection. He can't handle truth. He can't handle any sort of constructive criticism. And I think that's why he didn't show up to the show. But I was surprised. I was really surprised because I thought he would want the camera time. But then part of me felt like he was walking away with like his tail between his legs. So that was really odd. The next thing that surprised me was that Lydia and Milton are still together. You guys know, if you watched my last video, that I just can't see this working out long term. But I was surprised to hear that Lydia and Milton's mom are, having dinners and, that they're working out and working out in terms of their relationship, and that, things are going really well for them, because I have always seen Lydia as this really overbearing, loud figure who just, who won't let Milton live. I mean, she has so many criticisms and changes that she thinks he needs to make, at least if that's what we saw on the show. And, maybe Milton finds it endearing and he's kind of like, oh, Lydia, she's just this loud, overbearing woman. But I think at some point it's going to become too much for him, because no man, especially as they get older, wants to constantly be mothered. And that's just the energy I get from them. But I was shocked that he revealed that, the family is all getting along and Lydia is close with his mother. And if that's the case, like, I wish them the best. I want it to work out because I believe in marriages. I think, it's important that there are marriages. I just think that the age gap, and I think that the other stuff is just a little too much. I think Lydia's personality is going to start to work Milton's nerve. Or maybe, there are couples and there are men who are okay with that. And maybe we're seeing that an instance of that where Lydia is okay with, Milton and Lydia are okay with their dynamic. I'm uncomfortable with their dynamic, but they seem to be okay with it. So I'm gonna leave that be. The next thing that surprised me was how often people mentioned that they saw each other around, like with Johnny and Izzy and Stacy. I'm like, and I guess it was like a staff, they were saying that it was like a cast reunion, but I'm like, is Houston really that small? I mean, if any of you guys live in Houston, tell me, is Houston that small that you're seeing the same people over and over again? What was interesting to me was that Izzy went up and found Johnny and kissed her a different night. I was just like, what are you guys doing? Okay, truth be told, I always got like, how do I say this? Player vibes from Izzy. I always got the vibe that he was, that he just would take whatever he would get. To me, it seemed like he was like, well, can I sleep with her kind of thing? Like that's the vibe that I got, that he wasn't really interested in Johnny, and he wasn't even really, like, that's his nature. Like, I think that outside of Love is Blind, it seemed to me immediately that he was just hooking up with girls. And that's what men do. Again, if you watch my video on Izzy and Stacy, that's what men do when they're not ready for marriage, is that they just hook up with girls. They just have girlfriends and they have no intention of marrying them while they work on themselves. That's the vibe I got. I found it odd that even after all that stuff he said about her, that he went and like hooked up, I guess, kissed her. And then I was like, shame on you, Johnny, because why are you so desperate, boo? Like, he talked to you like a maniac at this, pool party, and then you were like, yeah, I'll see if something works. No. And maybe those were filmed independently and I didn't know, but that's crazy to me. Are you serious? This man had all kinds of negative things to say to you, was talking crap about you to your boyfriend at the time, and then you go and see if there's something left. There's nothing left, baby. There's nothing. On top of that, this next thing is that Chris, I was like, okay, truth be told, never thought that Chris and Johnny were going to work out in the first place, simply because I think no one intuitively wants to be sloppy seconds, right? And I think even though Chris wanted to see if it worked out with Johnny, at the end of the day, we find out that Chris ghosted Johnny for another girl and didn't even tell her that he was like dating, and basically didn't even tell her that he was breaking up with her. Like, first of all, here we go with these 29-year-old boys who don't know how to have healthy endings to relationships, who don't know how to deal with things. They ghost people. Johnny and Chris seem to be fine at the reunion, but still, I was like, are you kidding me? You didn't have the guts to tell her, hey, this is not really working. Like, come on now, But I think this is the dynamic of, this goes to show, okay, like, the level of like dating health that these people have. To me, it's like, you are not ready for marriage. You're not, because that's not the behavior of someone who's intentionally looking for a wife. That you're just gonna like drop somebody. Like, stop the madness, So I think the reunion revealed a lot about these people's characters that maybe we didn't necessarily see on the show, and how much they still need work. Like, y'all need therapy. The next thing that surprised me was, oh my gosh. So, the interaction between Aaliyah and Lydia. I was so relieved and happy to see that Aaliyah was like, Aaliyah couldn't pinpoint that there was something off, like exactly, but she knew that there was something wrong. And I like that. I was like, good, I'm glad you saw it. Maybe Lydia didn't plan to be on the show with Uche. I don't think she did. But I do think that Lydia didn't want Aaliyah with Uche. And I think Lydia didn't want Aaliyah with Uche. And I think Aaliyah she's starting to play it back in her mind. And we see her kind of really put Lydia to task on this reunion show and say, hey, what's going on here? Because the way that she was revealing all that stuff about Uche, it was so underhanded. And I'm glad that Aaliyah was like, kind of cleared the air with Lydia and said, hey, like, that was not okay. And Lydia was like, oh, I didn't mean to hurt you. But Lydia's motives, again, are just so hard to read, because she smiles and she's like, oh, I just don't know English very well. And I'm like, that not knowing English very well doesn't make you any less smart and doesn't make you any less cunning. In fact, it makes you have to be more, because you don't always know what's going on. So I don't know. I think what was satisfying for me on the reunion show was realizing that Aaliyah also knew that there was something up with Lydia. And when she said, I don't think I was ever Uche's type, I was like, yes, Lydia is a preference. Like, that's what Uche prefers. Like, take notes. You have to take notes about what kind of women that men date typically. If they're typically dating women who look a certain way, you're like, you're right. I don't think Uche was attracted to Lydia, and I don't think that he would have even chosen her anyway. People are like, well, if it would have played out, no, it wouldn't have. He spoke to her with such disgust. He spoke to her with such, vitriol when they met up. it was very obvious that he wasn't even attracted to her, because I think if he found her to be like stunning, he would have let some of that slide. He would have been like, okay, let me give this a chance. But he didn't. He didn't find her attractive. And Aaliyah dodged a bullet. She really, really dodged a bullet. And I think we have to acknowledge that. JP and, oh my gosh, I don't even know her name. Boring, just boring. I think, you know, he tried to make some excuse about the cameras being there, and that's why it was awkward for him. I don't think that he was attracted to her, and I think there were some things going on in cameras off, things going on off screen. So here's my thing. Whenever a man says, I don't like you to wear makeup, the first thing you should do is go look and see what kinds of pictures he likes on social media, what kind of women he's watching on social media, because typically they're women with a ton of makeup on and they look pretty and they're all done up. And so that to me is usually a sign of insecurity. Now, I get it. I'm not someone who wears a ton of makeup, and I don't like think that you need to wear a ton of makeup as a woman. I think actually, you know, you should just wear enough to enhance your beauty and blah, 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 and it shouldn't be caked on. I didn't think that Taylor's makeup, is her name Taylor? I don't think it was that caked on. I thought it was much, but it was weird to me that was the thing that he was hyper focused on. I'm like, really? You know, her makeup? Like, and to me, I'm like, there's something deeper going on here, because why not just wait till you're married to be like, hey, honey, like, I love the way you look when you just do mascara. You don't have to wear eyelashes. Like, I love your natural eyelashes, you know? Why? It was just odd. It was like, again, these people are not ready for relationships. They're just not. And it's very, very obvious, because the kinds of things that they were letting, you know, for JP, that's the thing that's going to that's going to determine whether or not you have a conversation with the woman and whether or not you continue a relationship with her. That's weird. That's bizarre. Like, you should be more focused on her personality. And of course, men are attracted to beauty, but that doesn't really say much about her character unless there's some stuff that we don't know. But to me, I thought that JP was insecure, and he even said he doesn't talk to girls. I don't think he would have went up to her in the bar or anywhere. And I think that she's too pretty, and I think he was intimidated by her. And so he was like, it's too much, because his deep down inside, he's terrified that she would leave him. So overall, I really thought that the reunion was underwhelming. I think that they threw softball questions to all the contestants, the cast members. And I just think that this was overall a lackluster season, but I am looking forward to the next one. If you guys like these videos, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.